Hi guys, and welcome back to our Python programming series. Today we will be discussing about Python decision statements, which include if, elif, else, and we will also be looking into Python loops, which are while loop and for loop. So starting from decision statements, if, else conditional statements are the decision statements where we build a condition whose choices are boolean. Either the condition is being fulfilled or not. So either our result of the condition will be true or false. So we can use conditionals in Python in four ways. Those four ways are if statements, elif statements, if, elif statements, and nested if statements. So in this pictorial description, you can see that when a condition occurs, it results in either true or false. So when it gets true, a defined set of instructions in that block are executed, and if it doesn't, the condition doesn't fulfill and return false, then our interpreter moves outside of that specific if block and then executes other statements. So here is the pictorial, and here was a pictorial description of it. Now we will move to the examples. For if statement, we just check a condition and write some instructions beneath that condition. So our interpreter will, when it will come here and it will check the condition. If the condition gets true, then only these specific lines of code will be executed. Else, if there was some other functionality here, for example, I want to print some number here for your convenience. Uh, so you can see here, we took age as 20, or in real time, we will be taking some input from the user here and then checking the value. So as defined the value already, we can see it is greater than 20 is greater than 18. So our condition here will be true as age is greater than equal to 18, and it will print this statement. Now let's see. Here, yes, our condition was true, so this statement is executed, and these contents are printed here. And after that block of code, this print one statement has also executed, which has printed 1. So only if I change the value here, and it gets 10. So now 10 is the value of age is 10. 10 is not greater than or equal to 18. So in this case, our condition will be false, and this print statement inside this if statement will not be get executed, and our interpreter will move outside of this block of code of if statement, and it will just move to the next line outside, which is print 1, and just print this line. Now let's check it. So here you can see it is printing 1, and it is only executing. Oh, sorry, and it is only executing this line. So similarly, now we see if else statement. Here in if else statement, we have defined that if this condition is true, this statement will run. But if the statement is not true, our cursor or our interpreter will automatically move to the else part and execute whatever is present in the else part. So let's see here. Our age was 15, which was not greater than equal to 18. So our condition here gets false. So this statement didn't execute it, and our interpreter moved to the else part. Here it was saying to print you are a minor. So this statement has printed here. Considering our if, elif, else statements. These if, elif, else help us to check for several conditions. For either of those conditions, if fulfilled, our interpreter will execute that specific part of statements for that condition that gets true. So basically, here we have given some score, which will be dynamic on the real time, and will be entered uh, for specific students specifically, and then their grade will be calculated. But here we have given a prior value as 85, and here we have set some choices and conditions. If the score is greater than or equal to 90, then it is an A grade. If this, but if this condition doesn't get true, our interpreter firstly checks this condition, and if this condition doesn't get true, it means our value must be less than 90. Now, less than 90, it will move to the next condition and check if the score is greater than or equal to 80. If this condition gets true, then this grade will be printed. But if it is not true, if it's false, then it means our score is less than 80. Then it will move to the next elif statement and check for the next condition. If the score is greater than or equal to 70, it will print C grade. And if none of these is true, it will simply move to the else part and print below C. Uh, so that was about the if else statements. But here, as our score is 85, which is greater than equal to, which is not greater than equal to 90, but greater than equal to 80. So this statement will run, and after this statement will run, our interpreter will move out of this and just after and just then execute other statements after this else part. And here we have, for example, written a print statement for printing some value. So it will print this afterward printing this. So let's see. Here you can see it has printed B grade as it was a B grade, and then moving out of these, it has just printed or executed other part of code which will be mentioned afterwards in our program. In nested if else statement, we see we have declared variables age and has license. So first of all, we are checking if age is greater than or equal to 16. Then again, inside that, if this condition gets true, the interpreter will move inside this if block and then execute further statements here. Now here we again come to see an if statement, the same statement, which is checking has license. Here is a check or condition which has to be checked. So previously we saved initialized its value as true, so it will return true. So as it is true, so this statement will be printed, and we wouldn't move to the else part as if part has been executed. So then we will move out of uh, this else part here, and after that else part we don't have here any other statements. So if part of this if else has ended here, so we will move out of it, and as we will move out of it, and as we executed the if part, we will not execute the else part, and we will also move out of it here. And now here if I write some, you can say, number to check our to show you that after just executing the if part, the interpreter will come out and will not move to the else part and just come out and execute other lines afterwards. So you can see here, after printing the if part of this, it moved out of this if else, and after completing this if part of this if else, it came out of this else part too, and then just executed this line and ended completely executed the chunk of code and displayed us the contents. So these were some very basic examples of else, elif, and else. Now moving to the Python loops, we have two types of loops in Python: while loop and for loop. Future Loops are a feature of programming that help us to execute some lines of code several times without us writing those lines again and again. These are also helpful if we want to iterate over the contents of a sequence like a list or a string. So loops help us a lot, save us a lot of time and a lot of work and a lot of our uh, our code, and saves us space and storage too. So in Python, we use two types of loops. While loops are used when we want specific lines of code to repeat if a particular condition is met. For some particular condition, we want to run or repeat our specific lines of code. Then we use while loop. Actually, in loops, we also apply conditions, and a loop iterates only if that condition is met. So we can also use break and continue keywords, which help us a lot in loops. The break keyword actually helps us to come out of the loop abruptly when a certain point reaches, and we just want to come out of the loop after getting whatever we needed in that loop. And the continue keyword is usually used whenever we want to skip an iteration, and we don't want to run those lines for some specific values of some variable, and we apply a check. These can be more properly understood when we will have some examples of break and continue. You will better understand. So, and for loop is really used, and we need to use it when when we priorly know how many times we want to uh, iterate, or how many times we want to run a loop or repeat a specific set of instructions, or if you want to iterate over a string or a list or any sequence. For loops are the best in that. When you want to iterate over dictionaries or tuples or sets or lists or strings, for loops are the best in those cases. So here are some examples we will be discussing. In example number 1, we see for loop iterating over a list. We define a list of colors in which we have 3 values, red, green, and blue, and for iterating over this list and printing all the contents, all the values of this list, we use a for loop for, and then we can have here any variable. We can either write here I, A, B, C, anything. It is just like a new variable we are using. This variable is working as an iterator, and this variable will be assigned a new value every time this loop will run. And for the first time, this I in colors will be given the value red, and then here we are printing I, so I will be printed here as red. Then again, the loop will come and I in colors. Now the next value of the of this colors list, green, will be assigned to I, and now while printing I, green will be printed. So for the next time, again, then this loop comes. The next value of the next value inside the this list colors, which is blue, will be assigned to I, and it will be printed here. And then next time when I comes, then we see we have no other values, so this then we will come out of this loop, and this loop will be executed completely. So if I run it here, you can see here we get red, green, and blue. And if I add some more values like purple, it will you will also get here purple, you can see. Now moving to the next example, for loop with range function. Now here we are using a range function. This range function helps us to iterate over a loop by defining how many times we want to iterate. We can give the number of times we want to iterate a loop in this range function. If you want to iterate it 5 times, I just wrote here 5, and this will run 5 times. But this 5 shows that for I in range 5 will print integers only, and integers will be from 0. Starting from 0, it will iterate 5 times. So whatever value I'm giving here in the range function, I will get output till this value minus 1. Starting from 0 and coming to 4, the values will be printed here as I give 5. If I give 6 here, then it will print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 up till 5, as you can see here. So range function can only help us to return if we are using the I in range and we are printing I. So this I will be an integer value starting from 0 up till 1 minus this value. But we can change whatever we want to print here. We can either print I plus 1, so it will show us the content from 1 till the number here. Coming to the next example, which is for loop with range and step. Now in this range function, we have several parameters. If we enter only one parameter, it means the length of how many times we want to iterate over a loop. But if we see here, we have entered 3 parameters. These help us to define the starting initial point of an iteration, the 1 plus point, and the step. How many steps you want to take between each value. So in this case, we'll see starting from 1 and then adding 2. This 2 shows us the gap between two values to be printed. So adding 2 to 1, the next value will be printed as 3. Then adding 2 to 3, the next value will be printed as 5. Then 2 to 5 will be printed as 7. And then 2 to 7 will be printed as 9. But it will move up until 10, not including 10. Excluding 10, it will move to the limit of 10. It will display values up till 10, excluding 10. So this was it. If we change it to 1, it will still print it till 9 and not include 10, as you can see here. Now moving to the next example, which is a while loop. Here in while loop, we have to define a counter or iterator before the start of the loop to track the iterations. So in while loop, we write while and then we define a condition, and then we have a column, and then we write statements to be executed inside the loop. So here we have put a check which says the count value must be less than 3. Starting from count 0, 0 is less than 3, it will print count which is 0. Then count plus 1 will add 1 to count. Count plus 1 equals to 1 will be assigned to count. Now count value is 1, which is less than 3, so it will print 1. And then count will be incremented with plus 1. 1 plus 1, it will be 2. So 2 is less than 3, and it will print here 2. Then it will come here and add 1 to 2, which is 3. 3 is not less than 3, so then we will come out of the loop. Now moving to the next example, which is a nested loop, for loop inside another for loop. So for a for loop, here we have taken for iterator I in range 3. In range 3 means I will be having values from 0 to 2, 0, 1, and 2. Inside this loop, we have another for loop, which is for j in range 2. It means j will be having 2 iterations which are 0 and 1, less than 2. So for the first time, we will print I equals to I, j equals to j. For the first time, I is 0. For the first time, j is 0. So here we will print I equals to 0, j equals to 0. And then after this, the value of j will be incremented to 1. So here j becomes 1, and here I remains 0, and j becomes 1. So here we can see I is 0, j 1. Then for the next time, j becomes 2, which is equals to this. So we will move out of this loop and come here. So the value of I will incremented, which was previously 0, now it has become 1. Come here again inside the loop. Now j is 0 and I is 1. So here i's value is 1, j becomes 0, as you can see here. Then again, j's value becomes 1 and here we come again, I becomes 1, j becomes 1, and here we print I equals to 1, j equals to 1. Then again j becomes 2, which is equals to this, then we will come out of this loop, and here again I will be incremented, which was previously 1, now it becomes 2. Coming inside the inner loop, j is 0. Then again we will print I equals to 2 and j equals to 0. Then again j becomes 1, so we will print I equals to 2, j equals to 1. Then again when j becomes 2, it will get out of this loop and come back here. Now I becomes 3, which is equals to this, so now we have to come out of this loop too, and the loop will be completely executed here. So we have these output here. Moving to the next example, which is looping through a dictionary. For looping through a dictionary, we can either loop over keys or values. So in a dictionary, we have a key here, and then colon, and then its associated value here. So we have different items in a dictionary with key value pairs. So for iterating over each item, we can separately either we can separately iterate over keys only or values only, or we can either have both. So in this for loop, we have taken key and value as separate variables in this dictionary person items. These are items. So for iterating through a dictionary, we must use the method of dictionary, which is items, to iterate over its keys and values. So here we are using this items method to print the various keys and their values inside this person dictionary. So here it is displaying all the key value pairs separately of this dictionary. So that's it until now for this video. Hope you guys liked it and enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video, and stay tuned for our further topics, which are functions and built-in functions, which we'll be discussing in the next video, inshallah.